Welcome to Real Fit, a podcast featuring real conversations with real women athletes. I'm your host, Pam Moore. I'm a freelance writer, body positive health coach, certified personal trainer, and a mom of two. And like you, I don't have time for bullshit. I created this show for every busy, badass woman who struggles with the question, am I enough? I'm here to tell you that you are. And my goal is to share stories that will inspire you and let you know you're not alone. Thanks for being here for this episode of Real Fit. Hi, and welcome back to Real Fit. Today, my guest is Sarah Johnson. She is actually a friend I made purely through LinkedIn. I know that LinkedIn kind of gets a bad rap. I think the perception is you go on there to upload your resume and when you're job hunting, but I find it's the only social media platform that I genuinely enjoy. And it's the only place where I've made real connections. And I'm happy to say that Sarah Johnson is one of them. If you're on LinkedIn and you haven't connected with me yet, I would love it if you would. Anyways, Sarah Johnson is the Association Director of Group Exercise for the YMCA of Metropolitan Washington, D.C. She's also a Taekwondo black belt. She is a certified personal trainer, and she teaches just about every type of group fitness under the sun. Through her work in the wellness industry, she is passionate about promoting body positivity and sharing the message that fitness is for everybody. And I love that message, so I'm going to say it again. Fitness is for everybody. So with no further ado, let's dive into the episode. Sarah, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm really thrilled and honored to be here. So thank you.
Yes. Well, I'm so today, everybody, is the last day of December 2020, the weirdest, strangest, potentially shittiest year on record.
Correct.
We made it.
Here we are.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your journey with fitness.
I didn't have fitness really in my life in my early ages, but then I think it's so interesting because fitness can be defined in so many ways, right? And I think fitness changes through your life as you change. And as I look back, like early years, growing up right away in my early years, I did gymnastics as like a 5-year-old, and then soccer, and my dad was my coach, that sort of thing. And then when I entered 2nd grade, my family decided to join Taekwondo as a family unit. My mom, my dad, my brother, and me, to do wellness stuff, but also have a family thing that we did together. So from 2nd grade to about 8th grade, I didn't do any other sports. My parents made it so that we couldn't quit Taekwondo until we got our black belt. And that happened right at 8th grade. So it seemed, looking back, it was like such a pivotal year for me. Like I got my black belt, so I quit Taekwondo. And then, I got contacts, not glasses. You go to high school. I got my braces off, like I got a perm in my hair. Like it was a big year for Sarah Shimshuk back then. And then when I went to high school, I decided I wanted to try sports, like team sports. So then I first wanted to play volleyball, and I will never forget my first day of volleyball camp that happened before the actual season of the school year. And we had to do these things, they were called W's, where you'd basically make a W, like shuffling and then do a bump, shuffle back and shuffle, do a bump. And my body was like destroyed that day. Like, cause I'd never done like that. Taekwondo wasn't how the volleyball and that sport, and we did sprints and running and wall sits, like that really wasn't a part of Taekwondo or a part of my day-to-day life. And it just like my quads were like on fire, and I remember like being like, what is this? But I came back and I did it again, and I actually love volleyball, and I'm a competitive person, and realized that sport is a way that I can compete and use my body. And it's funny because I always like to say I love this game of volleyball, but so my body is built in a way that I'm tall. I'm almost 6 feet. I'm 5'11", which it killed me because I was never 6 feet tall. And when people would be like, "Are you 6 feet?" and I can't lie, so I'd have to say no. And it doesn't, the math in my family doesn't work because my mom is 6'1", my dad is 6 feet, and I'm 5'11". Like, what? Like, that doesn't average correctly. I needed to be at minimum 6.5. So I got into sport then. So I did volleyball, and then I was told, because I'm tall, I should play basketball. So I was like, cool, let's do that. And I played basketball, and then I gained friends throughout sports. And my friends in basketball said, you should do track. I was like, okay, let's do that. And that's what I also realized, this body does not move fast. So sprinting was out. Also long distance at that time was not something I even could mentally comprehend. So, but I have power, I have strength. So I became a thrower. I threw heavy things as far as I could. And that's a sport.
Is that javelin?
Oh, I threw shot put, which is pretty much like just a cannon. And then I threw discus, which is like kind of like a heavy frisbee, I guess you could say. And you like spin around and you let it go, and hopefully don't hit anyone in the process. And so I did that. And then I also in Iowa. So I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. I live in Alexandria, Virginia now. And I also, they're like, you should do soccer too.
Wait, who is this Again, they? There's all these days that are like, Sarah, I know the taekwondo was your folks, but like.
Yeah, right. So they is like my high school friends who also, like, I had volleyball friends, my basketball friends, some of them overlaid, okay. And sport then in high school became more what you would think of traditional sport to be, and getting into fitness there. And then from there, it just continued to blossom as I got older and shaped my life from there.
What did you do in college for fitness?
So in college, I went to a small D3 school in Iowa. It was about 45 minutes south of Des Moines, a much smaller town than Des Moines. And I did play volleyball for my first year there. I also did indoor track. So in indoor, I'd shoot through the shot put again. And then I picked up a new thing to throw, which is called the hammer, which is basically, again, take basically like a cannon, put it on a chain, and then whip it around and throw it.
It sounds like anger management,
then,
which I need.
Very medieval. Yeah, so I did that. Only my freshman year in college. And then I realized, so with my major, which is sports medicine, athletic training, you have to cover sports as well. So you're the one on the sideline. So it's really hard to manage time management in doing sports. And to be honest, like I was good enough to play like in practice, but I didn't, especially in volleyball. Like, again, I love volleyball, but I always say my body is made more for basketball because this body does not go up very high. Like my vertical is like 3 inches. It's not. Okay. And so I didn't, after freshman year, I didn't continue playing any like collegiate like team sports, but I did like intramurals and stuff. And then I also really got into my own personal workouts. And then also senior year really was a lot of like life-changing events for me in terms of I got my personal training certification my senior year of college. So the taekwondo studio that I went to as a child, the owner evolved. And in addition to just doing taekwondo, he's created, his name is Lance Farrell, and he created, it's called Farrell's Extreme Kickboxing, or I might not be saying the right name. But it was like, because that's when the era of Billy Blanks and Tai Bo was huge.
Yeah, was this like the early 2000s? I feel like we're the same age. Like, when did you graduate college?
07.
Oh, no, we're not the same age.
But I graduated college 07, high school 03. But it was around, like, Billy Blanks, like, was huge, right? And cardio kickboxing. And so he took his Taekwondo studio and developed a cardio kickboxing aspect that senior year, when I would come home for Christmas and whatnot, I would go to the cardio kickboxing classes. And because of my Taekwondo background, I really liked it. Like I could punch really well. I could kick really high. Because you actually hit heavy bags in this class. It was really fun. And I honestly, that's the first class I ever taught. Yeah, I had a tape. And that was my first Group X class I taught. And so again, at senior year, I was like, I like this. This is fun. I'm working on having fun. And it's like fun. Like, I can't describe another word. Like, it's just exhilarating. It's exciting to bring energy into a room of people who also want to move and be energized and are there for a reason that you can help them keep pushing. And there was a small gym in the town that my college was in. And I said, and I looked and I said, hey, can I teach a class here? And I like demoed the kickboxing class, and they said they hired me. And I started teaching a kickboxing class on my own in senior year of college. And then I did.
That sounds like that's unique, right? Like everybody in your athletic training program wasn't like, you know what, I think I'll be a personal trainer and I think I'll teach
exactly.
class, right?
Yeah, so athletic training. So in my group, it was like people were either going to be an athletic trainer, or a lot of them use this to go then to be a physical therapist.
Yep.
I was really the only being like fitness, like Group X. Like my poor parents, maybe, because my parents helped me with pay for college. I never sat for the athletic training like exam. Like I got my personal training cert and then went to wellness and fitness. And my degree and my knowledge certainly helped me in my career as a personal trainer, because especially it was really easy being, or a good niche in terms of being that personal trainer who had that injury background, to when someone is maybe coming there, they've hurt themselves, went to rehab, and now rehab's over. Now what? And so I was a great segue to get back to more of, what active lifestyle they might have led previous to an injury. So, yeah.
So did you come right out of college and start a career as a personal trainer, or where did you work? What'd you do?
I love the Today Show. And I was watching that, and they had a segment on something called Camp Wellspring. And and I think it's still around. It's basically like a weight loss camp. I applied for a job and I got hired as a fitness coach, counselor, for this company. And I went to upstate New York in the middle of nowhere. For that summer, I was a fitness counselor at this weight loss camp. And it was an interesting camp experience. So it was definitely for the well-to-do. I want to remember it was like $2,000 a week or something for these counselors. And it was for girls ages 11 through 17. And it was serious. There were good components. And when I look back and everything that I know now, there are good components and not so good components. Like it was very, like when the kids arrived, the girls arrived, we would actually go through their luggage to look for treats, food, like that. We took away electronics, which electronics at that time was what, like a Nintendo Game Boy, like, yeah. And then they'd be in camps. Like I was in charge of a group. I've had 15-year-olds throughout the summer. And the good components were that they believe psychology was a good part. So every girl had a one-on-one therapy session once a week. And then we had a group therapy session once a week. But other than that, it was like we were moving. Like we woke up in the morning and we had a 1.5 mile walk, jog, run situation. When you went to go eat, it was very clean food in the dining hall, and you weren't allowed to eat unless you brought your food journal.
Wow, we could have like a whole episode on just that. I mean, does it change? You're a parent, right?
Yeah.
How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I have a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter.
Do you look back differently at that situation now, especially now that your little one is like, I'm assuming, has all their teeth and eating all the foods? Like,
yeah. And what I don't know and what I can't remember was, I do remember like the girls that were there had the knowledge of what this place was.
Sure.
Like it wasn't just called camp. It was Camp Wellspring, and what we talked about. Let's talk about why you're here. And what I remember too was like, not all of them were what you would like if you visually looking at them. What I say you're overweight.
Yeah.
A lot of them actually I learned came from like just got out of rehab for drug situations, and then they were put here. So really, I think it would be a look into what was going on in that family.
I was going to say, I feel like if you have issues with like binge eating or starving yourself or whatever disordered eating, especially as a kid, how can you deal with that stuff without, and I'm not saying, I want to be clear that I don't think being overweight is an issue. Like a lot of your weight is determined by like, social factors, genetics, but if you have a bad relationship with food and your body, like especially as a kid, that's a family dynamic situation. Like it's hard for me to imagine like mom and dad feel great about food, and mom and dad are like not having off limits foods or whatever, and like
exactly.
And weirdly, this one kid in the family has a problem. Like
I mean, yeah, and then you're just getting like dumped off at camp.
Yeah.
To be like, help you figure it out.
Wow.
And I knew to give this organization credit, I also do know like this is one of their things. In fact, they actually asked me to stay on, and they had a whole California like center that was family based, where the whole families came together. So I think they just had maybe different avenues for what they're looking for too. But I decided not to stay with them because I pursued a different career path, which is where it got me to stay on the East Coast.
Okay. I want to get back to that, but I also there's so many things here, especially with the Taekwondo. Well, first of all, have I been saying Taekwondo wrong my whole life? Because not that I say it that often, but you are saying Taekwondo and I say Taekwondo. I'm going to assume that I have no idea what I'm talking about because I'm not a black belt.
I think it sounds okay. Like I say I just might be saying it weird myself too. I say weird, like I see bagel weird, I guess. So it just might be how I say bagel.
Is that an Iowa thing?
I don't know.
I have one friend from Iowa and I don't really recall how she says bagel.
Yeah, I think I say some words funny. So
well, either way, so am I wrong if I say Taekwondo?
No, you sound great. Okay. Keep it going.
Either way, this martial art that you studied for so long.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm so intrigued. Our lives, like, I feel like our lives have intersected now in a cool way. But like as kids, we would have never hung out. Like I was like the runt. Like I quit ballet because during the breaks when we had time to play, the other girl, we played house and the girls made me be the baby because I was the smallest. I was always like shorter than the shortest kid in the grade below me. And now, I've grown up to my full height of 5 feet tall, which I can proudly say I'm 5'0". But
we are definitely on different ends of the spectrum there.
I'm kind of envious that your parents made you do Taekwondo all that time. And I'm really curious to hear your reflections on it, especially as a mom. Did you by any chance read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth?
I have not.
What her thing is like you have to experience how hard it is to do something that feels like drudgery and then finally have the win of like, mastery.
The accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that'll teach you so much about yourself and give you confidence to do other things. And I certainly like have come to that on my own and stuff. Yeah. My parents didn't make me, but I'm like looking at you in college and I'm like, oh my God, she stayed fit throughout college. You decided of your own accord to like get certified as a personal trainer.
Caveat asterisk. So know that they're, those things sound great, but there definitely were too much drinking. There was definitely negatives in my life. I actually developed a bulimia in college. And it's something I've struggled with a long time since then. And so that happened during college too. So there's definitely positives and negatives to everyone. So like there's always two sides to the story, right? Personally, lately getting really into LinkedIn and a professional route, we always see the positives, right? And see like yay, I did this today. This is how I look today. This is awesome. But you didn't see what took to get there. How many failed pictures, how many failed attempts, how many, times you've cried, or felt like failing along the way to get that one snapshot that you decided to post.
100%. Can you talk a little more about like when you put a name on it?
Well, I think for the longest time, especially when it started, I didn't, like you said, I didn't categorize it. Like, obviously I knew what it was, especially in my, what I was studying, and everybody knows what that is. But I was like, I don't do it after every meal. And so it's not really, I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. Like I ate too much. So, it wasn't, I didn't use it as a systematic way to cope. And at least in my mind, I wasn't. So that it wasn't a problem in my mind. But it was definitely angel devil situation, right? Like here I'm saying it's not a problem, but then logical side of Sarah is saying this is an issue. This is not normal. Like you shouldn't have to do this. This shouldn't be where you turn to deal with whatever, even if it's, just you feel like you ate too much. Well, then let it digest and move on. Like, nope, my solution was to get rid of it. And I actually reached out. I had a professor in college I was really close to. She was such a great mentor and motivation to me. Like, so I talked to her about it, and she was really helpful in it. And I to this day, I've never seen a psychologist about it. I've never been officially diagnosed from it with a doctor or anything. Like I've just kind of dealt with it and talked to those I feel comfortable about it with. It was hard though. Like it definitely even creeped up into my adult life. Because I think the hard thing about those with any sort of eating issues, or addictions, is that food is a staple part of your life. You have to have food to survive. And what I want to make sure it's clear is I'm not diminishing, any sort of drug or alcohol addiction by any means when comparing. But you don't necessarily need to drink alcohol to survive. But you have to have food. Like food has to be around a part of your daily life. And when you have an addiction or any sort of mal thought to it, it's hard. I think that's a struggle, for everyone dealing with how to face that.
Can you talk about what was going on in your head when you felt the need to purge?
Disappointment was always a big one. I'm so stupid. I have no self-control. Disappointment myself for eating whatever, and now I need to get rid of it. And the funny thing is, if you're doing it for body image, bulimia, those who suffer from bulimia actually aren't always the thinnest, because it doesn't work that well unless you're, honestly, like if I eat a whole bag of Doritos, I'm not necessarily getting the whole bag up. You're still you're keeping on to some of those calories that you're eating. And again, you don't typically do it for every meal. So you're still eating something and getting nutrients from somewhere. And so that's the funny thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily help but it made me feel better in that moment. And then, of course, I felt bad the next day. So it was very cyclical, right? So you feel bad for eating. So then what do? Maybe if the food is a comfort for you, then you're screwed because then you want to be comforted. So then you eat more and then you're frustrated. And then so anything you've got to figure out. And it's like the balance of food. What food is enough for you to eat well? What food is enough for you to feel good? How do you feel about that food you consumed? And for me, actually, what's really helped me a lot in my adult life is actually using, and I actually hate the name, but I love the program. It's Weight Watchers. Because what I love about Weight Watchers is, again, there's no bad food or off limits food. It's that there's accountability for the food you eat. And right now in Weight Watchers, there's different plans and different colors and stuff like that. But you can eat whatever you want on Weight Watchers, but you just have to be accountable for it. So that's helped me actually quite a bit, and it works when you do it. So that's kind of shaped my mind a little bit more on food.
Like, have you been able to change that dialogue in your head that's judging?
To be honest, I'll be 100% honest. Like, there's no end. I think it will get better, and it has. I think especially in the last couple years. I don't know if it's been because I've had kids or what, or just as you get older, you become more self-aware and more that self-confidence, and truly what others think you don't care about as much. I think that will all hopefully add to that point of being okay with the food I consume at all the time. Like right now, I do, when I got on Weight Watchers and was really following it a lot more strictly and looking at, hey, if I cut out all these sugary foods, I do feel better. Because I'm very not self-attuned. Taking the time to become self-aware of how foods make you not emotionally feel, but physically feel. And then maybe tying an emotional feel to that. In terms of, okay, when I take out the sugars, like the extra sugars, like, cause I'm not a person where like, I'm not going to eat, I love ketchup and I'm not going to not eat ketchup. Cause I know that there's sugar in it. And I know that there is now there's ketchup with no sugar, but it costs more, right? So there's so many factors into how we choose our foods and what's available. That could be a whole thing, right? But if I don't eat all the extra sugars, I do feel physically better. I don't feel as bloated. I don't feel as tired. And that makes me feel good. Right. I'm not as angry. I'm not as quick to yell. I'm a board of kiddos. I have more patience. I feel more motivated just in general. So I think attributing healthy foods to how you physically feel is definitely going to help.
I can totally get on board with that. I guess I don't know about you. I thought that when I had children, I thought that it would change when I had kids. That was like magical thinking. I don't know why I thought that, but like, is that a thing that moms do? Like, did you think that your issues would be solved just because suddenly you would become a mom?
No.
Oh,
I'll be honest. No.
That's cool. So you were grounded in reality.
You give birth and then you're expected to look like you did before in how many weeks? Like, that was a thing. I had a C-section first, and then I was able to do a VBAC for my second. But on my first, after my C-section, I was doing burpees, but that happened probably 8 weeks in. Yeah, it was not, and I'm saying that I do not condone that. It was because but I wanted to move to get quote unquote my body.
I know there's so much pressure. I do not like that expression, like bouncing back or getting one's body back, as if it's like your cell phone is rolling down the street and you got to get it back. It's not.
Where did it go? You still have it.
Yeah.
Your body's right there.
Exactly. And bodies change.
Yeah.
Like my body changes throughout the day. Like by the end of the day, I like to put on pajamas because I like pajamas, but also like I'm kind of bloated by the end of the day.
Amen. Yes. How you weigh differently.
Your body changes through the day. It changes through the week. And I think we're like, our culture tells us, no, you're supposed to be skinny all day long, all week long, your whole life.
How does the male side? And I thought about the word dad bod, right? And how that can be seen as a negative, but also such a positive for men. sometimes the dad, he's got a dad bod and I like it, but like no one ever says you've got a postpartum body and I like it. Like that's not a thing.
Can we make that a thing?
You're postpartum. I love it. I love your pooch.
Love that baby pooch.
Right. I love your diapers.
So right. The dad bod sort of the plus side is sort of implies like, oh, he's feeling himself. He's sunk into this paternal role. He's not on the prowl.
And I think it's even exemplified in TV shows, right? How many TV shows do we see the male figure or, have this dad bod and next to a supermodel? Like there are shows out there that are changing and pushing those boundaries. But it's taken away. In gender, I even thought about, okay, that's like our experience right now in our age group, but what about children now? And I even thought about the ideas of what kind of labels we put on even in clothes, right? And because I actually was shopping for my son for new school pants because he's 5 and there's holes in his knees all the time now. And he's now growing out of that like toddler and into like the young boys section. And I thought it was really interesting that, and it reminded me because it said husky versus girls are like curvy. And I thought that's so interesting. The word husky, and to me, I don't think husky is really positive. I wouldn't want to be called a husky, but that we have to define a different cut of clothing.
Yeah, or what I'm noticing too, and I'm trying to figure out what makes sense is like, it would never say like fat, right? Because fat is considered a slur. Fat could be a neutral word if we were not a fat phobic. What do you think about like the body positivity movement?
I actually was just chatting about it with my coworker here the other day. I mean, I think it's great. I think I'm going to say there are components about it that are great. I don't think anything can ever be 100% fully 100. I don't know. Great. I think that the world is becoming more accepting of different shapes, sizes, colors, seemingly imperfections. We'll say that.
Air quotes with imperfections.
Right. And that, we see like, again, I'm going to say Target just because I go to Target all the time. That when we go to Target, we now see stretch marks on the models in the pictures. And, that there's more diversity. I think, and maybe what I'm going to say is going to be controversial. I don't know. That I'm considered a plus size person. I wear a size 16 in pants. I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh over 200 pounds. That's a huge number for me, like physically or mentally and emotionally, that number. But I also want to make sure that the body positivity movement of accepting everybody isn't just about also saying like being fat is okay. I don't know if that sounds right. Because I want to focus on healthy, because I also know that just looking at a body, someone who could be this skinny, and for everyone listening, I'm holding up my pinky, could have so many health issues going on, right?
Boom. Yes.
And it's like they could have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You don't know it from the outside of their body. Whereas someone I'm just thinking of celebrities like Lizzo, right? Looking at someone with a bigger body and someone who's proud and puts it out there might have healthier cholesterol, better blood pressure. But I also there's the extreme of that fat. We want to say the word of that fat person and I want to make sure that that's not too glorified either. And that might touch, I don't know if, but I also don't want to glorify the other end of that skinny, ribbed individual. I want us to find that healthy in between of knowing that movement is good, healthy eating is good, and knowing that there are situations that make us one way or the other just based off of our body types and who we are. There's mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph. These are all things that predetermine what our body looks like.
Totally.
I don't know if I answered you.
Well, I think you did. I mean, tell me, is this another way of saying it? Like, we should accept whatever body we or other people are in.
Uh-huh.
And we should not assume that by looking at somebody that you can assume their health status.
Right.
I think we live in a culture that naturally equates thin with healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that we have, I don't think you said this, but I will say, I think we've been lied to. I think that there's a multi-million, billion-dollar, quote-unquote wellness industry. And I'm not bashing I'm part of the wellness industry. You're part of the wellness industry. I think the wellness industry has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
But I also think part of it is like the juice cleanse and the abdominal binder and the diet and the this and the that, and all the ways that you can, quote, become healthier, which is really, can you be thinner? And it's like, we are not meant to intentionally lose weight. Like if you have terrible habits, if you never move and you only eat Doritos, you'll probably lose weight if you like adopt a healthier lifestyle, but you'll also get healthier. If you lose weight for the sake of losing weight and if it is like, it's probably not going to stick. Like research shows there is no data really that supports the diet work. And then there's just so much fat shaming and
definitely diets don't work. I hate the word diet. It's really healthy, sustaining a healthy lifestyle. We talked about like our kids and stuff, and it starts there so much in how we talk about foods, and that there's no good food, there's no bad food. So when I talk about food with my kids, we talk about, that there are treats, but I say treats have treats typically taste good because they have lots of sugar in them. And I say that, and I say, and I don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong, but I said first, before we have our treat, we need to eat the food that helps us grow. And that, and if we eat fish, like I talk about how fish helps our brain grow, and cheese helps our bones get strong. And I mean, by no means are my kids eating the most pretty looking diet. One day I fed my kids and I looked at and the food I was feeding them, it was all orange. It was like chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. And I was like, oh, cool. That's one color. Awesome.
And it's also one day. It's like what you do over the weeks and the months and the years. Like my kids, a day will go by that I'm like, oh my God, did you eat anything besides cereal and some combination of carbs and cheese? That might be one day. But like another day, like I don't remember what we ate the other night. It was breakfast burritos. It was morning. And one of my kids was like, can you throw salad in mine? My 6-year-old was like, put salad in my burrito. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing something. But it's like kids, I think before a certain age, they know what they need. And it's like, we could be like that too, if we didn't have like this cultural expectation that we look a certain way, I think, clouding our, and not just the culture, like what we've actually been told. Last year we went on a vacation and we're like at the beach, like in swimsuits. And my dad was like, he literally was, and not to throw my dad under the bus, he's a very loving guy. He just is doing the best he can. But he said something like, you and your sister have never had a fat ass. You both had kids and you still, you still look good. And that was like, in his mind, like the biggest compliment. And I didn't feel like going into a whole thing with him. So I just was
like, I mean, I think about like, so for me and my mom, we have very similar body shapes. And I remember, again, like you just said, not throwing my mom under the bus, because obviously their image and what their internal voice was shaped from their experiences. Like going shopping with her and her like trying on pants and being like, oh, I just wish I could get rid of this or that, or if this would smooth out, and so one thing I try to do, like my kids have seen me step on a scale. And one thing, and they said, what's that? And so I tell them, I said, it tells me how strong I am. And whenever I step on the scale, it's kind of weird, but, if I look at the number and then I raise up my arms into like a strongman pose, like the prize fighters when they weigh in, before they fight, I'm like, this is how many muscles I have, to show them like that number hopefully is is a healthy thing. Like, and that's, that number doesn't define me. So that's something I do. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to have some reverse psychology weird effect. I don't know. We'll see in 15 years.
We're all just winging it.
No idea what's happening.
Right? Like no one knows what they're doing.
I think this year really, really proved that to all of us. Like, I mean, even professionally, like I actually was just getting ready to reflect on this year professionally, and you know, the fitness industry was turned on its head a little bit. Like, yeah, there was always virtual stuff happening prior to 2020, but that we had no choice but to find some sort of virtual way to ensure our organization survived during 2020. And I was reflecting on that a little bit prior to our call. And it truly is like none of us really knew the right answers all the time, but we are all trying our best. And I think more than anything this year, people opened up to each other to be like, so what are you doing? Like I work for YMCA, it's a nonprofit, but I have connected with people from the for-profit side of things to be like, tell me about that. And I would have but so willingly, and I think for them, also communicated in that way to be like, what are you doing? Well, I don't know. What are you know, like, and not being so like secretive about it in a competition. So it was really cool. I hope that's something that, you know, we can continue. Of course, business is business, but the same thing with parenting, right? I think we all were like, this is crazy. Like, how are you surviving? Because that was definitely the word this year, that and the word pivot, which I now hate. But we definitely were surviving.
Yeah, no, I hear you. There's a mom, she's like one of my kids' classmates' mother. So we know each other like through school, but not like well, but we text sometimes. And at one point she asked me over text, what is the hardest part of this for you? And I was like, oh my gosh, no one's really asked me that. And I wasn't really expecting to hear that from her because we don't know each other that well. But I told her, and then I was like, what about you? And it was just kind of a nice thing. Yeah, it's like I feel like we are all like appreciating each other maybe in a different way.
But one thing I wanted to talk on too, which I know you had it in your notes too, but what you just said and how she asked you and you answered, and it made you feel good, is the imposter syndrome. Because I think that right there was identified in that moment. Like, oh, you're not feeling like you can do it too?
Talk to me about imposter syndrome and your experience with it.
Being 6 feet tall, what the world might call curvy, and over 200 pounds, I've always, for the longest time, and still today, sometimes when I get in front of a Group X class, I'm like, okay, what are they thinking? If they don't know me, if they've never been to my class, what are they expecting when I walk into the room? This is going to be an easy class? Maybe they think I don't look that fit. Or, again, this is what I'm thinking they're thinking. Who knows? They could be thinking my day sucks, so I didn't miss my coffee, right? So the imposter syndrome was like that. I don't belong here because I don't feel like I look the part. But then I know that I'm strong, and I know that I'm going to give a kick-ass class here in a minute. And I know at the end, I hope at the end, people have really enjoyed their time with me. But I mean, all the time, like even in my professional life, like sometimes when I post on LinkedIn, I'm like, am I just pretending that I know what I'm doing? I'm like, but I didn't make this up. I did it. I did do these things. And I am saying that I'm so grateful that I know that it's a thing that people share. And talking about 2020 is a uniting factor for us from humans to humans. I think that was a uniting factor for me to learn about from human to human.
Yeah. I like how you brought it back to 2020 and this pandemic. And yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think, yeah, for me too, imposter syndrome was such an eye-opener to be like, oh, maybe I don't actually suck. Like maybe I'm just having imposter syndrome. I think it's like the patient who's been to a gazillion doctors and keeps getting told, oh, like you just need more sleep, or oh, you're just run down, or you're fine. And then they finally get a diagnosis and they're like, everything makes sense now.
Right. You're not on this island of self-doubt that there are others questioning themselves too. And that's okay. And that there are people there to support you. Like, for instance, so Christy, I have two really good people in my organization that I lean on, who have similar roles to me, but in different departments. They're also women, similar age group. One is also married to a mom and the other is not. And I told them about this opportunity with you and how excited I was. And Pam, I was like, she writes for she's a freelance for the Washington Post, and it's so cool. And they were so excited about it for me, and I appreciated it. I said, here's the funny thing. I was like, when she wrote me, it said she was interviewing women athletes. I said, I literally read those words and paused. I said, am I a women athlete?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I did. I questioned. I was like, should I tell her she's got the wrong girl? But that's where it is, right? There's that imposter syndrome but then here I am trying to be like this self-reflective person and being like, well, then what is an athlete, Sarah? What defines athlete? And I questioning myself. Talk about a Black Mirror episode.
Right? No, I really appreciate you sharing that. I really do. Because I think what you're describing is not unique. And that's something I've thought about a lot too, is what is an athlete? What are some basics? Like, maybe we don't have to get it all hammered out right now, but do you have a few, if nothing else, it's this, and this?
I think an athlete is someone, who has movement as a part of their life. But to me, an athlete is also who chooses to move for pleasure. I think that really defines, there's people who work out, right? And who feel like they have to work out because that's the thing that's going to make them, whatever it is, skinny, stronger. I mean, it will. Well, not necessarily skinny.
Yeah. A lot of factors.
But I think an athlete is someone who has movement as a part of their healthy lifestyle as pleasure. I totally just made that up, but because you choose. Like, I think an athlete, what differs an athlete from what we in the YMCA call a health seeker, is I think those people choose to, again, every day, in and out, maybe not every day, but like choose to utilize movement.
I mean, to me, there's something about pushing against the edge of your comfort zone or getting uncomfortable, whatever that means. And so for the person who like is pretty sedentary and they're like, I'm gonna schedule 15 minutes to go for a walk, to me, that actually is maybe even more athletic than the college student who walks to every single class.
So maybe adding that, I like that thought process of, again, I think it's willingly choosing to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Because, so one thing I say in my Group X classes, is it's okay to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, don't be in pain. You don't have to be in pain to have results. I hate pain, no gain. I hate that. But it's okay to be uncomfortable. And one of my favorite quotes is actually, challenge equals change. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you.
I 100% agree with that. In the gym, out of the gym, everywhere. Because
again, right? I mean, from a gym personal training perspective, that's why we change your exercise regimen. Because if you do the same thing over and over, you're never going to change. Like, your body's going to adapt, because our bodies do like adapt. Like, we do 15-pound bicep curls. It might be challenging at first, but after a while, our body's adapted. It's adapted by getting stronger, yes, but it's adapted. It's not going to change again until you make it uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
So I like that add to it, that maybe the athlete part comes again when willingly pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone repeatedly.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. And I actually, back to the pandemic, I feel like the pandemic has given that to all of us. Like this is definitely, I think, going to change us, right? Like we've all had to get uncomfortable, no matter how comfortable your life was. Somehow this changed it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on so many aspects, right? Financially, emotionally, where you live, how you live, who you live with, it touched you.
But like, what is there anything as far as the way we've lived during the pandemic or the way you've lived that you're like, you know what, I didn't expect this, I didn't plan for this, but this is something I want to take with me, even when the pandemic is over?
I think about my relationship with my husband. We've seen a lot of ups and downs during this pandemic time. We've had a, you know, but I think we're going to be stronger for it, for sure. Like if we can get through a pandemic together, while raising two littles and working full time the whole time, which we're blessed to have had. Blessing and a curse there. We can make it. We'll be married 7 years this in 2021. The other thing personally, is how much stronger I am than I thought I was. Like in terms of even I think 2020 actually professionally has boosted my professional confidence more than I would have ever expected. And I appreciate it for it. Because I was pushed into doing things for the Y. I am very honored to have been a part of the senior team when we reopened the Ys going in. How were we going to reopen with the guidelines? Like I was with our VPs, our COO, literally walking through the rooms being like, we need to move the treadmill here, face it this way. Here's our walkway path. I completely single-handedly have led our virtual Facebook page. And I'm excited. I actually that was the thing I was kind of preparing. Like I was tasked in March when we shut down the Y to figure out how to bring a virtual wellness component to our organization. And I made up a Facebook page and connected instructors from 3 different states together to create a virtual team. And to this, our content, we have over 1,100 classes we've produced virtually. It's been viewed over 160,000 times. We've reached 260,000 people through the Facebook page that I solely created by myself. I have instructors who are teaching, but I'm the one who's put it together, and I would have never thought I could do that.
Good for you. That's amazing. And you've been able to provide all of your Y members with like the opportunity to engage. And I don't know about you, but for me, like exercise has been one of like my mental health savers during this. I mean, it always has been, but now more than ever, it's like, I need a mood lift.
Yeah. And it's such a blessing. It's been so cool because there have been times when I'm like, this sucks. So like to be the one behind it, like there's a lot that goes in. And I also directly oversee 2 of our branches in terms of the wellness operations, the day to day. And then I have the virtual page that's constantly going all the time. And I'm updating that weekly, pulling reports, connecting instructors, being IT when they can't connect, what's going on, responding to all the messages. It's been a lot, but I've done it and I feel really strong about that. And I've connected professionally and networked more than I ever have this year. I had planned to do it even before COVID hit. And I think COVID was this catalyst for others to also open their doors to each other. And I kind of touched on this earlier, where we were all just like, help. And then I think this touches on so many things we talked about, like the imposter syndrome too, where we're like, when I'm talking to other fitness industry leaders and we're having a conveation like we're colleagues.
Because you are.
And
like we're colleagues.
Right. But in my mind, I'm like, but like, I don't think I would have been able to step up into that space a year ago.
Good for you. That is awesome. That is so great. I love that. And I keep wanting to we keep getting off the topic, but Taekwondo. feel like this mirrors that, right? It's another experience that, I mean, Taekwondo, your mom was forcing you, or your dad, or both. And like now it's like the pandemic is forcing you. But when you're forced into these uncomfortable situations,
yes,
change, or that challenge forces you to change. But I mean, do you think that you would be the same person you are right now, having not been pushed into Taekwondo and going all the way to get your black belt?
You know, my parents gonna love you for asking that. Because probably, of course, you ask 8-year-old Sarah, she's gonna be like, no, this sucks. But I don't think I ever thought about how, again, Sarah's unself-aware of how that really did create that kind of mental fortitude that I have.
Yeah, I would think you would create this like deep inner knowing that if I keep showing up, every day is not going to be great, but if I just keep showing up day in and day out, look at me, I'm a black belt eventually.
Right.
How can that not stay with you?
Yeah, I think it was there. I just never to find it.
But well, thank you. Okay, let's dive into the quick set because these are the fun questions. Okay, what's your favorite meal?
I love nachos.
Me too. Okay.
I love them.
Like, does it matter, like from a certain restaurant or you homemade?
No, I will say, oh gosh, my good friend and I, we love nachos. We always get them wherever restaurant we go because we like to see the different variety. And we're at a restaurant that we've been to many times. It was like the big pile heap of nachos. Loved it. We ordered it. They had changed it. It was like this where they had these giant chips with the cheese and the guac and stuff on the chip individually in this very pretty pattern. And we're like, what the hell is this?
Like, we don't want to be challenged or changed.
No, I want my nachos. I want a pile of food in front of my face. I don't want you to individually portion out my nachos for me.
That's a sad nacho story. Okay. What's your favorite book?
I love Harry Potter. Like, so not
the whole series?
Like I love the first book the best because I think I love the wonderment and surprise of him exploring and learning about Harry Potter and like when he goes to the Hogwarts the first time and how he describes it, how it's described. I love that so much. I've read the series multiple times over and over.
What's your favorite movie?
Actually, I love the movie that I love to watch again and again. If it's on, I watch it. Is the original Sex and the City, like the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not deep. I'm not a deep Harry Potter and Sex and the City, but they're like my favorites.
Well, I mean, books. The way I see it is like books and movies are for entertainment. So if you're entertained,
yeah. I love the fashion of it and like. Oh, but when Big leaves her at the altar, it's horrible.
But it's not surprising. I mean, all he's ever been is his.
I know.
Himself.
I mean, we should have known that was coming, right? There's a whole movie, and that's at the beginning of the movie. So,
I'm in the process of watching all the reruns, or I mean, there are only reruns. I'm watching them all. I'm on season 1 now, so like, you don't have to justify anything about Sex and the City to me. Like,
yeah, it's great. Like her fashion and I think it's great. It's so much fun.
I love it. I love that it was like the first show of its kind. Like there was no other show that showed women speaking freely about sex and love and just like being themselves. Their fictional selves. Like nobody lives like that, but Right. No one can't. Yeah. Like that and like shows like Friends, where like they have all these like not quote unquote real jobs and they have like an apartment in New York City and like yeah,
you can't pay. No one lives a life like that.
Right. But if you can suspend your disbelief, it's so entertaining.
Right.
Okay. What's your favorite vacation spot?
It sounds anywhere with the beach. My husband and I went to Jamaica once and it was just fabulous. It was just that I love warmth and water. I love water anywhere, the sound of water, the ocean. It's just such a calming to me. But Jamaica, it was just I have such good memories of it with him there, so that always comes to mind.
What's your pet peeve?
Being late. I hate, like, whether I'm late, whether I'm waiting on someone. Oh, I mean, there's clocks everywhere. Be on time.
Okay. I feel like you're talking directly to me. I have a problem with time. Noted. What's your superpower?
I would love to be able to like just transport to places. Like I think that ties into like being late. Like let's just be there. Like I also hate like long car rides. Like I hate just sitting in a car and like driving. I hate it. And so I would just love to just be like, let's go to Italy and be there in a second.
What is your worst quality?
Procrastination. 100%. I feel like that's like a give up, but it really is. Like I get so excited for things and I follow through and do a good job eventually, but I leave things to the last minute, like all the time.
Oh, well, same. I don't want to tell you what I was doing like 45 minutes before our call. My husband was my computer is like on its last legs. My husband was like, you really should have asked me for help 2 days ago, not 45 minutes before your podcast. Okay. What is the fitness gear you can't live without?
I love my Fitbit.
Okay.
Like I am obsessed with tracking like my steps and like my movement. Love it.
What's your daily step goal?
Yeah. It's 10,000.
Okay.
And I'd say 80% of the time I hit it. And I think that's, cause it's just, to me, it's just that number. I just like to move. It's important to me and get those steps in. I used to do challenges with my husband on it, and then he was annoyed by me. So that stopped.
All summer, I was like, can we do a 5K, like me against you? We'll just do loops around our house so we can keep our kids on the stoop. And he was like, why don't you do a 5K? Or I was like, okay, a mile? He was like, why don't you do that? I was like, a pull-up challenge? He was like, you can challenge yourself. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I was like, I want to beat you. That will motivate me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be bad if you had two really competitive people in a relationship.
It would be insane. I'm definitely the type A, like, let's do this together. Like
we are different about the things that we say, let's do this. Like there's certain things that I say it and there's certain things he says it. So I think it works. But
yeah.
What is your favorite workout? Let's pretend there's no pandemic. So you could conceivably do whatever you wanted.
Yeah. I like the genre, like I love a HIIT workout. Mm-hmm. Like in terms of like timed intervals, personally. And I'd love to help work on changing people's perspective of HIIT. Cause I think people hear HIIT and they think, oh my God, I can't do that. Or like, you know, even like seniors or an aging population are like, HIIT's not for me. But the thing about HIIT that I love is it's your intensity. It's not mine. It's what can you do in this amount of time? And in that same regard, I put / indoor cycle. I love teaching and taking indoor cycle. It's my favorite. It's my favorite class to teach because I play song. I love my playlists, and it's like I get to be a DJ, but while working out. And how awesome is that?
Yes.
So
yes, I feel the same way. That's one thing I miss the most, I think, about our normal lives. I didn't realize how much I love teaching. That cycle is really, I've taught other classes, but that's the only one I've consistently taught. And what's the best advice you've ever received?
I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's, you can't be everything every day. And that came to be by a mom of 5 girls who also like got to the gym, and she had her 5 girls. Her husband was in the military, so she was like single parenting it a lot. And I think she has like a blog, and like she's doing a lot. And I asked her that, and she's like, Sarah, a lot of people asked her that, and she told me, I'm not the best mom every day. I don't get a workout in every day. I'm not the best cook every day. I'm not the best wife every day. I'm not the best friend every day. I'm not the best person to me every day. You can't be the best everything every day. And that's helped a lot, actually.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that advice too. And finally, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, it seems simple, but that it'll be okay.
I love that.
You know, like, it'll be okay. Like, I mean, I feel like there's so many things that we focus on when in our, like, high school selves and stuff that seemingly, of course, we think that the world will never be okay because we didn't get the cutest outfit to wear, or, you know, but like that, it'll be okay. Like that stuff doesn't, in the end, it doesn't matter. It'll be okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Where can people find you online if they want to connect with you after listening?
The best place probably is my LinkedIn profile. I'm posting a lot more on there, and, you know, sharing, you know, like I'm posting a lot more about, just my thoughts on industry and wellness overall. So, get on there, follow me, reach out. I'd be happy to chat, help do anything with anyone.
Okay. So if you search for you, it's Sarah Johnson. Is there like a middle initial?
I think it's just Sarah Johnson. I think, like, I should know this, right? Let me look.
Or you can find me and you can search my connections for Sarah. That's another way.
Yeah. So it's okay. There you go. Yeah, it has my maiden name in there too, which is crazy,
right?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, it's SZYMCZUK.
Okay, I would have never known how to pronounce that. Thank you. Oh,
there you go.
Wait a minute. Oh no, you said Fitbit. Sorry, I was like, wait, I have to.
Yeah.
We got everything. Okay, so Sarah S, perhaps S or not. Whatever. Sarah Johnson. I'll link to it in the show notes.
Cool.
I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Really, what a way to end 2020 on such a high note with you.
Thank you so much for being here and listening to my conversation with Sarah Johnson. Highly recommend finding her on LinkedIn. She is always sharing great insight on leadership and fitness. And the biggest takeaway for me from this episode was the way Sarah walks the walk when it comes to showing up in front of a room and leading a group fitness class in the body that she's in, and showing everybody that fitness doesn't necessarily have a certain look. We've been told by diet culture and a society that believes or wants us to believe that fitness looks one way. It looks like sculpted abs. It looks like, 10% body fat. It looks like the cover of a magazine. And the truth is, that's a lie. Fitness is a habit. Fitness is a lifestyle. Fitness is a state of mind. Fitness is not a moral imperative. Fitness is diverse. It's just not true that your physique looks a certain way when you do certain things. It's just not true. So there's so much joy to be had in fitness, and particularly when you can separate it from how it's quote unquote supposed to make your body look. So if you got that from the episode, I'd love to hear it. If you got something else out of it, let me know. You can email me at pam@pam-moore.com, or you can leave me a voice message. Go into the show notes and you'll see a link for that. If you've been telling your friends how much you like the Real Fit podcast, I appreciate it. If you have been leaving it a nice review or you've rated it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, I really appreciate that too. I want to say thank you, Esanel001, who left me a nice review. She said it's so empowering. Also, Acorn and Moose, who wrote, must listen. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. It would mean a lot to me if you haven't yet, if you would subscribe, rate it, or review the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like it and you think somebody else would benefit from this message, just tell a friend. That would mean a lot to me. Until next time, keep it real.